welcome to the next tip in the series. This one is, I think it's a really important one, and it's a really tough one over this period. I think this is a tough one over in life in general. But actually over the Christmas period, the one that I want to talk about today is sugar and alcohol consumption. Both of which can significantly exacerbate ADHD symptoms, particularly when it comes to dopamine regulation or dysregulation, sleep interruption. Alcohol can interrupt medication, and how effective that can be. And it can very quickly lead to spiraling and just an inability to get back to your baseline. So this period is incredibly difficult for that. I appreciate that. But it's really, really important that you are honouring your health, that you're protecting your health. Your health is your responsibility. Hard as it is, my ability to protect my health has largely come through awareness and knowledge and understanding the impact of these types of behaviours and these types of things. Now, I've already noticed this last week. Last couple of weeks, decorated my Christmas tree about 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that I get out as part of decorating the house is this sleigh that is essentially like an open sweet container. So of course I've got this sleigh out. Of course I filled it with chocolates and sweets. So of course, even though I don't have a particularly sweet tooth, like I'm all about crisps and nuts if I'm going to pick on stuff, but the chocolate's there, the sweets are there. I've been eating them, and I've noticed very quickly that I have created a little bit of brain fog, a little more than usual. My sleep's becoming a bit interrupted, just in that I'm waking up with a bit of a dull headache in the morning. And this is just from in the evening, sitting on the couch and having a few of these sweets. And actually, I don't even know how many I've eaten, because you don't count them, do you? They're there, and then you just, before you know it, you've got kind of a little pile of wrappers next to you. So I particularly don't drink alcohol. I've never been a big alcohol drinker, even before recognizing having ADHD. Alcohol just never seemed to work for me. I always got quite sick and felt you had a huge impact on me, and I didn't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy the taste anyway. I never got into drinking a lot of alcohol, which I know is quite unusual for being a Brit and our culture, but that kind of is what it is. I have the very odd glass of wine, and every time I do, I love the experience of having that wine, and I love the very immediate after effects. But the next day or two, even just from one glass of wine, I can feel in my body, and I don't like that, so I tend to avoid it. But alcohol, sugar, particularly sugar, I think is, also alcohol, both very, very difficult for ADHD brains to manage and process effectively. In actual fact, they're things, in my opinion, you should just be avoiding, full stop, and really trying to make efforts to do that. I think where we need to help ourselves is recognizing, firstly, how difficult that is. Often these are habits that we've had for a long time, and actually just over this period they seem to become exacerbated and really worsen our symptoms. So things like good habit forming, good habit breaking, making things easy and difficult for yourself. So like in one of my first videos, I mentioned if you want to form a new habit or do something new or help yourself achieve a task, you need to make things easy for yourself. Well, if you want to break a habit or stop yourself from doing something, then the reverse is true. So you need to make it difficult for yourself. Understand what that trigger is. So for me, usually boredom. Just sit. I'm not thinking. I'm unconsciously eating. So it's usually boredom. It might also be as a result of having a really busy period, so you feel like you need a sugar fix. That could be it. So noticing the trigger and then making these things difficult for yourself. So the other night, my sons and I were watching a movie, and I said to them both, do not let me pick from that sweet jar. And my youngest son loves being given any sort of power or authority over me. So he took that role very seriously, and I tested him. I asked him to pass me a sweet, and he just looked at me as if to say, no, that's not happening, and I will defend that packet of sweets with my life. So make it difficult for yourself. I mean, just removing them completely as soon as they're gone, I don't think I'm going to refill them, because I'm noticing that my kids do the same, and I'm almost encouraging and enabling that, which I now don't like. And now that I've recognised it, now I have the knowledge of that, I can do something about it. So limiting these things, it's all about balance, which we find very difficult with very all or nothing characters. And our systems are built for that very highs and low type way of living. And the same is to be said for these types of things, and this type of period of time, it becomes very, very difficult. So that's my big one. Alcohol and sugar can be huge contributors to dysregulation across, all areas of your life, but particularly the regulation of dopamine, then your sleep patterns and your emotional regulation. So they're my two things, really. If there was one tip that I was to suggest you kind of listen to most in this series, it would be this one.